What's good, everybody? I am your host, 2400 Y2K. Welcome back to the pod. This is episode 3, and I just wanted to start the pod off with a big thank you to everybody. I really appreciate the support, the views, the likes, just anything, even if you watch it for 10 minutes. I just appreciate that. I wanted to get that out there again real quick just because it is just starting out, and every little bit helps. Yeah, every minute watched helps. So I just wanted to say thank y'all for that real quick. So I wanted to say, my bad. So I want to read this real quick. I wrote this down just because it meant a lot to me, and I felt like, I wouldn't be able to come up with it exactly what I said, in a right way again. So, I wanted to read this real quick. I wrote this, So, what I wanted to talk about real quick is wounds, and I haven't. I don't know if any of y'all noticed, but I haven't uploaded on that. I missed like a couple days, and that's just because I'm dealing with some stuff in my personal life, and uh, it's wounds. It's just not necessarily major. Maybe I'll get into it another podcast. Hopefully in the future, you know what I mean, it'll be resolved and I'll be able to talk about it and stuff. But as of now, it's causing me some trouble and whatnot. So that's why I haven't put anything out lately. But I figured today I might as well try and get something out, try and record some. Sitting in a slump, not recording isn't necessarily good for you, I guess. I don't know. I just think keeping yourself busy is good for you. Just trying to do stuff. I think that sitting alone, kind of in your own thoughts can go negative. It can have some unintended results. I think just kind of sitting there like alone with your thoughts, you think it's a good idea, and like society always tells us me time and whatnot. And I agree with it to a certain extent, but like at the same time, I think that if you sit alone with your thoughts too much, you start thinking dark thoughts. You start thinking, you're a failure, maybe about a relationship that didn't work out, just different stuff along those lines. I think that happens a lot when we sit with ourselves too much. We overthink, and I think almost every single person does it. I can't say that there's one human being on earth that doesn't overthink at least a little bit. You know what I mean? I think that everybody, at least to some extent, overthinks. And sorry, I was catching my breath. But I think a lot of people just need to keep themselves busy. And you don't even necessarily have to do like anything crazy, anything super physical. I know means are hard to come by, so you can't always go places. You can't always do things like super far, so even in your own homes it can be hard. But I think just try and keep yourself busy, whether that be school, work's a hard one. Even like myself, I struggle with that. There's but there's like a certain love or value. I don't know how to explain. There's a certain value to work where it's like it makes your time off feel so much better. So like, I don't know, at least for me, when when I'm at work and then I get off, like when you get off, it feels so much better. It feels like I don't know, it feels like the day is yours and you can do whatever you want. And even if you're not really doing anything, you're just not at work, so there's like some value to that. Whereas when you're unemployed, you sit there and you don't really have anything to do all day, every day, and so like it doesn't really become special anymore. At least for me, I don't like being unemployed. I don't like just sitting there. I don't like, I don't like work necessarily either. I don't like manual labor. I don't necessarily like 9-to-5s or entry level work. But I think it does provide a certain, I don't know, it's like this, it's hard to explain. Like, I'm trying to articulate it the best way I can, but it's like, you just like, You know, like that feeling when you get off of work and you're sitting in your car and you're turning on that song, like that feeling of relief, like that's over. Like, yeah, tomorrow's gonna come, but that shift's over. I'm done. Like I can go home. And like, I don't know, for me that feeling was always, that feeling is always like, I don't know, something rewarding about it. Something like that keeping you busy feeling. Because like then when your time off and you have your weekends, you really trying to apply, you really trying to do stuff, because it's more valuable. Like you don't have all the time off in the world. You got to go back to work in whatever amount of time. And I don't agree with our system. I don't agree with the structure of America's working class and how they treat workers and wage. And there's a lot of stuff I don't agree with. But I also have to give it its props as well, because I try and preach balance, and there's good and bad. I don't like this system. I don't necessarily agree with it, but like I said, there are pros to it. There are senses of feelings of accomplishment, or just even little things at those jobs that do feel good, like regardless of if it's a shitty job or not. There are certain little tiny things that do feel enjoyable about them. But that was a little tangent on the work, on keep yourself busy with work. But I think another good avenue is friends, friends, family, just anybody you're close to. I think hanging out with them, spending time, shit like that really that helps keep your mind off of stuff. Because I know for me personally, there's been moments where I'm really down, like I'm really upset about something. There's been something that's really painful that's happened to me, something that's really upsetting. Sorry, I'll go back to that real quick. But there'll be something that happens that's really upsetting to me. But when you hang out with your friends, like at least for me, I find that some of those moments are the moments when you don't necessarily acknowledge, like you don't feel that pain as much. You don't think about it. Certainly you don't think about it as much, at least for me. Like when I'm there with my boys, when I'm there with the dogs, and we're chilling, we're chopping it up, we're playing games, we're doing whatever. Even if I'm going through heartbreak, even if I'm going through struggle, even if I'm pissed off, if I'm depressed, if there's something going on, no matter what, I think when I connect with my niggas, that it's something different. You know what I mean? That it provides like this sense of like everything's chill, and you're able to relate to people for a little bit, and you're able to calm down, and you're able to kind of sit there and not be so worried about that thing that you're worried about. And like in my experience, I know I say that a lot. I know I say a lot of stuff a lot, and I promise you I'll get better. But it's just that's how I talk. That's how I talk, and that's how I. Cause I can come up with ideas decently fast, you know what I mean? Like, but it's hard to get them out, I guess. Like when I talk, it's a little bit different. It's hard to kind of articulate things. That's why I say a lot, like a lot. So just be ready for that for at least the first probably 10, 20 episodes. And yes, there's gonna be that many episodes. So what I mean, I'm staying true to that. Stay tuned. I mean, it's really happening. But back to what I was talking about, friends. Like when I'm with my dogs, I have this sense of almost like clarity, and like even if I'm going through, like I said, whatever, heartbreak, just any kind of negative sense. Like when I connect with my dogs, when I'm able to sit there and relate, when I'm able to sit there and talk, that's how you can tell really true friends. Because I know some people say, well, I sit there with my friends and we just, we sit on our phones. We don't really talk about nothing. We don't really say anything. And I feel like that's not really being friends. You know what I mean? That's not really, if you can't interact. Like I've sat there with some of my dogs and sat there for hours and just talked. Like not on no shit, not on no weird shit, none of that. Like just on some shit. Like we'll just be talking like about whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm into a lot of stuff. Like that's how I kind of got into this podcast and shit. Is just Like, I talk to my friends a lot. Like I said, I'll sit there for hours and just talk about different shit. We'll talk about government conspiracies. We'll talk about Star Wars. I want to get into that one of these days because, I feel like I could write my own Star Wars like pretty good. I feel like I could make my own Star Wars movie. I feel like I could spit the script. You know what I mean? I feel like I could really do that. But that's a whole different tangent. But like I had to say, I could sit there for hours and talk with my dogs about just different stuff. And whether it be family troubles, girl troubles, you know what I mean? Just troubles. It doesn't have to be troubles. It's just stuff in general. I talk about my favorite movies, Scarface. I talk about, cool stuff I got. I talk about stuff I see on Twitter. It's just kind of like sitting there being able to vocalize and being able to relate and have feedback. Like for me, that's something big. And I think you get that opportunity, especially to kind of calm down and kind of like free your mind from the stress, or at least what's going on, at least when you're directly hanging out with somebody, or when you're like, for me, a big thing, and I don't know how it is for females because I've heard mixed things, but for at least for males, like games are huge, like consoles and like PCs and all that. That is so big for us to like low key, it sounds kind of drastic, but like stay alive. Like it is low key a necessity for us to have I wish I could explain to people who say that like gaming consoles are just dumb and just entertainment and like just stupid, like, or just feel some type of way about it, that it's negative. Like I wish like there was a stat you could track like how many lives Xbox and PS4 and PC, like all these consoles, like they have saved lives. That's no shit. That's no joke. Like I can say from personal experience, it saved my life. Like that sounds crazy and that might sound corny and be like, you what? But like, hear me out. Like there have been times where it's dark days, something bad happened. You know what I mean? So it's a series of bad things have happened, and this is my worst day yet. You know what I mean? I'm really in the dumps. I'm sitting on my couch. You know what I mean? I'm curled up. I'm sitting there. I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm not even watching YouTube. I can't listen to music. I just have to sit there pissed or sad or whatever that emotion may be. And then, oh, boom, I hear that little boo, my little Xbox notification. When the homies invited me, I accept it. I don't really want to be there. I'm kind of moping, whatever. And we just start shooting the shit, chopping it up, playing the game, whatever. And I'll get into that in a second about like you don't even have to play the game, and so I'll do that, and like this huge sense of like relief, this sense of like I'll like calm down. Like for that instance, it's crazy because right when we hop off, like it can happen, it can creep up right again. I can start feeling that same feeling. But like as long as I'm on the box, as long as someone's there talking to me, like I'll sit there and I'll just chop it up. And my best friends in my life, like we're so close because of Xbox, because of like we move, like people move, you know what I'm saying? Like my homies, like some of them move, some of them like move to different cities, move to different states and shit. And the only way we stay connected is through Xbox, and like that we stay connected on that bitch every day. Like that's dead ass. Like our I don't know. That's our network. That's how that's the equivalent of. I don't even know how to explain it. It's something special about it because when you play Xbox, when you talking to your friends, like that stress just it goes. I don't want to say it goes away because it doesn't, but it lessens a lot, and especially when you're laughing or you're just talking or shooting the shit, like excuse me, but when you're just laughing, shooting the shit, talking like that to me that takes a lot of my stress away. I stop thinking about it. I'm just because I'm in the moment. I'm laughing. I'm having a good time. I'm playing COD. I'm playing whatever with them. And we just having a good old time. We having a ball. And we like some of my best moments, some of the times I've laughed the hardest in my life have been on Xbox. Sitting there, you playing DayZ and you driving too fast and that bitch crashed into a pole and all you and your niggas is knocked out and everybody laughing and everybody's like, yo, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You all getting up and you get out the car. I get out the car, I open the door. I'm telling my one homie to get out. He said, I'm dead. You know what I mean? I started laughing. He starts laughing. Like some of them moments, like the OG days of Fortnite, you scream to my left. He's building. You know what I mean? Y'all got your little squad. You squatted up. You yelling. You screaming. Your parents getting mad at you. Calm down. It's a game. Calm down on that damn game. I'm gonna take the damn game away. People, you know what I mean? You just having a ball out there. You screaming like, on my left. Oh, are you like, come on? And you freaking out and it's like it's so fun and it's so like I don't know. It's more of a connection than like not more of a connection than real life. I wouldn't say that, but in a sense, like you can stay closer or like there's more to do in real life unless you got money. Like you can't do stuff a lot, especially in the city I'm from. There ain't shit to do here. There's nothing to do. It's so boring. Like there's one skate park, 80,000 people, one skate park. Like are you like what the fuck? Like see, so that's what I'm saying. But on my Xbox, in the virtual world, like we on Roblox. 1 second fucking around on some scary game. The next minute we playing Call of Duty. The next minute we playing Apex. The next minute we playing you know what I mean? I fuck. I kind of had a little fuck there. I could shit. But anyways, we be switching all these games and it's like that. I don't know. It's just it's something different than the real world, and it keeps like I said, I'm speaking for males mostly because I don't know the female perspective, but it keeps us together. Like we're able to talk more. We're able to stay connected. There are some days, a lot of days, especially recently. You know, I'm 19 now. I'm that college age, and like just like in the last couple years, you know what I mean. Since 17, probably. Like I've really just sat there so in a lot of Xbox parties and just talked. I don't play shit with them. Like they'll be on whatever For Honor, Rainbow Six, whatever, and I'll just sit there and I'll just pull up and I'll just talk, make my jokes, shoot the shit, look on Twitter, YouTube, bring up random stuff. You know what I mean? Just how it, like if you know, like that how it goes and down in there. And so like when I'll just pull up and shoot the shit. And so like I don't know, it's like that's really what's kept me out of some of my dark days. Like that's and I'm not even gonna lie, that's what's helped me out of this stint is like I was kind of down, some stuff happened, you know what I mean? I was like, you know, I like the pod. I love doing the pod. Like it is fun. Like I just love talking. Like if you couldn't tell, but I was like, you know, fuck, I don't really want to do it. I'm kind of exhausted. I'm kind of just, I don't know what to talk about. I don't really want to do the research. I don't want to write a script. Like, you know what I mean? Just kind of got in myself. And what really helped me is like, I get on Xbox, playing whatever, whoop-de-whoop. And, you know, you see your friends online, you join, you start playing whatever. And, you know what I mean? You just get that feeling like, you know, stuff is good again, and I get more hyped up, and you know, I talk to some, you know, specific, you know, like, you know, real close homies that, you know, that we on the same wave, and, you know, they be talking about, you know, I can talk to them on some serious shit and be like, yeah, I'm, you know, kind of going through a rough patch, and like, oh man, you got this, you know, and, you know, it kind of helps remind you, like, you got this shit, and it kind of puts you back on the horse a little bit, and so, I don't know. I think that's huge for the wound thing. Looping all the way back to where we started, the wound thing. I think that it's important to talk to people. It's important to keep yourself busy, and one of the biggest ways is through friends and family, and just talking, shooting the shit, jiving. You know what I mean? And going to do stuff in real life too. Of course, that's fun. Like, you know what I mean? I like going to do you know, little reball, little mountain exploring, a little basketball. That's my shit. I'm bad. I love basketball. I gotta get some more homies. I gotta play that shit. You know what I mean? But, yeah, no, it's like, you know, keeping yourself busy, keeping yourself. I wouldn't want to say distracted because, like, I don't like that terminology. Makes it seem, I don't know, some type of way. But I think that keeping yourself busy, you know what I mean, just keeping your mind occupied and and keeping on the upward, because even when stuff gets bad, even when bad stuff happens, you can still stay on the up, but it's up to you. What I learned about life is that even when you're in like a bad spot, like even when some bad shit happens to you, like it's a mental game. It's a mental game. Everything in life is a mental game. Like there are certain things that obviously you cannot change, but it's like it really is mental, and that might sound corny, and that might sound sorry, that might sound like something you've heard before, but it really is true that life is a mental game, and if you have to have like everything's like a mental type deal. So I'll come up with an example. I know I keep saying the same thing over and over, and it's because I'm trying to think of a good example. And like a good example is like physicality and like working out and like maintaining, being in good shape and like especially like NFL level athletes, like they don't get there just because they're strong or just because they work out a lot. They are only able to do that because they've mentally like prepared themselves. They've mentally decided that they're going to do it, and they're mentally strong. And I think it's a huge lesson and part of life is you have to be mentally strong, like whether it be something physical, whether it be something, it's the rule of kind of don't panic. If you're in a serious situation, a life-threatening situation, the worst thing you can do is panic. You have to keep yourself calm. And that's tough to do because, like, the scenarios I'm talking about are like, a house fire, a shooting, you know what I mean? You got shot, you got stabbed, you know what I mean? The car crashed, there's a multitude. I mean, there's a million scenarios that I could be talking about. And what I mean is in those scenarios, you cannot panic, because when you panic, that's when it starts to go bad. If you get shot and you start to panic, your wound starts to bleed a lot more. I don't know the exact stat on how much more, but I know it's more, at least double what you'd bleed normally. I mean, just because your heart's pumping at that double rate. If your normal BPMs is, what is it, 90? I think it's around 90 something. If you're normally around, and then you start freaking out, you start panicking because you got shot, and now your BPM's at 120, 130, you know what I mean, 140, up, so on and so forth. You're going to bleed out way faster than if even though it's hard because that's a hard scenario to, say keep calm, getting shot in. You don't necessarily want to keep calm. Your just natural instinct is to start freaking out because, you don't want to die. And, but I really think that, like that don't panic lesson of where, if you're drowning, like that's one too. Like if you're drowning and you start flailing your arms and kicking and doing all, that's how you actually drown. You can wade a lot of the time. I'm not saying every time. Obviously, people drown, from all types of stuff. But a lot of times you could just wade. You could just float. You'll be all right. But when you start kicking and flailing and freaking out and panicking, that's when you drown. And so that's that lesson of like mental toughness in instead of those like fight or flight scenarios. I'm talking about in prolonged scenarios. So instead of just having to be mentally tough for that gunshot, and then that's the super serious fast scenario. So I'm talking about the prolonged scenario. So you want to go to the NFL, well then you have to be mentally strong enough to do all that training, to go to school enough to get the education, to get your however many years of college it is, in order to be eligible and in order to go to the NFL. And you have to have that mental fortitude to be able to do these physical workouts and things like that, because a lot of what our a lot of what stops us is just us saying we can't, or just being lazy. It's just simply what it is, and it's not a bad thing. That's just a human trait. That's just something that most people do. That's especially in the modern world where we're not, necessarily we're not necessarily fighting for survival anymore. It's more so comfort. You want to live in a nice, comfortable house with a nice, comfortable couch, and you're not out there foraging for food and stuff like that anymore. Whoa. So the prolonged situation. So, you go through the like NFL training or something like that, where you have to have the mental strength in order to do that. Not necessarily the physical. Yeah, the physical plays a big part, but it's it's that fighting that I want to quit mentality, that like I'm tired mentality, and that I just want to sit. I'm kind of lazy mentality, where I'm guilty of it. Most people are guilty of it. That's why most people aren't NFL players. Most people aren't these extraordinary human beings on earth. And a lot of people just aren't even necessarily even just physically fit or physically healthy, and that's me included. And that's because of that mentality, that like a lot of it's, one is procrastination, that mentality of I'll do it later, or the mentality of you do the bare minimum. You do 5 sets or whatever, and you do just until you're breathing hard and you're just getting stressed, and you know what I mean? People know what I'm talking about. That immediate feeling in your head kicks in where it's like, oh, I want to set the weight down. This is killing me. This is tiring. Like, I've already done this many sets. I could probably go a few more. My body's not about to quit, but this is really hurting. I'm not hurting. This is just really annoying, and I just really want to set this down. And it's fighting that. It's that mental prowess. It's that mental of being able to tell yourself one more, being able to tell yourself keep going. And this might sound corny and whatever, but it really is just a mental game. Life's a mental game. Like, no matter what it is, it's a mental battle. Whether it's becoming strong, whether it's becoming smart, whether it's becoming a pilot, or being a composer, or the best whatever, the best artist, whatever it is. It's not necessarily a matter of skill so much as it is that mental toughness. A lot of people can be skilled at certain things. A lot of people are just naturally better at, things than other people. But what makes those other people, that gives them the edge, gives them the ability to, be an NFL player, or be I wouldn't say politician, but to be somebody of extraordinary feats, I guess is how I'd phrase it. It's not necessarily what they're born with, or they're taller, they're this, they're that. It's more so about the mental strength of how, like I just said, one thing is like athletes, and one I can think of specifically is like Derrick Rose, who really, it shouldn't be possible for him to dunk at his height. He was, I think 6 feet, 6'1". He's out there jamming on, not just dunking, but postering fools. I mean, jamming on people 6'7", 6'8", you know what I mean? He was doing stuff that, really, it doesn't, I don't want to say shouldn't be possible, but it doesn't feel like it shouldn't be possible. It feels like it shouldn't be possible. Yet he was able to do that. He didn't get any enlargement surgery. He didn't, you know what I mean? He wasn't able to do that because of physicality necessarily, but more so he mentally overcame that. He pushed himself further. He did, you know what I mean? He trained his legs. He did the workouts. He put in the extra work, so he was able to dunk. He was able to put up the points. He was able to be the biggest thing in Chicago since Michael Jordan. And I think, like, I don't know, I'm not these people, I'm me. And but I, speaking from, my perspective, I think it took a lot of mental prowess to do that. I think it took a lot of a mental battle to do that, more so than more so than a physical, more so than anything else. It was a mental, like, basically the point I'm trying to make with all this is, whatever situation you're in, I believe if you're mentally tough, you can get out. And that sounds like a lot, and it is, because, like, there are people in some pretty bad situations, some pretty, impoverished, things like that. And it does feel impossible, and there are things that happen that make it feel impossible, and certainly some things that are huge that happen that can, make your situation feel hopeless, completely hopeless. But if you have the mental toughness, and I'm not trying to preach this Sigma mindset or anything like that. I'm not trying to say if you don't have this, you're weak. All I'm trying to say is try to improve it. If you don't have great mental toughness, or if you feel like you're not achieving goals, or you're not doing things in your life that you want, I think just start doing little things to make yourself mental. Just like a muscle, just like anything, train it. Kind of train yourself. I think a lot of people try the cold turkey approach to stuff like that, where they try to go all in, and I feel like it turns a lot of people off. Where, like, immediately they don't. You know what I mean? If you try to work out and you're immediately trying to do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and you're trying to train the hardest, your hardest, your complete, like, I don't think. Sorry, there's a hair in my mouth. There we go. But I don't think that's gonna help anything. I think that, or I don't think most people are gonna stick around long term if that's the way they're doing it. But I think if you slowly, kind of just do things in your daily life, so that you can, if you do things in your daily life, like just little things, to where, it kind of trains that mental toughness. So, if you don't want to do something, or if you're like a big procrastinator, one thing I learned is whenever you're bored, do that stuff that you're procrastinating about. So whenever you're sitting there and, like, you're actually bored, you know what I mean? You're sitting there and you have free time, and you're watching a video, and you don't really care, or you have a show on, and you're kind of on your phone just scrolling on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, and and you're truly bored. You're not looking at anything, you're not intrigued, you're not really watching the show, you're not really watching the video, you're not even really caring about what's on your feed. Then I think oh, my bad. But I think once or if you're bored, once you get that bored feeling, like you're on those apps, or you're on this, and you don't really care, you're not really paying attention, and you don't really know what to do, and you want to hang out with friends, or you want to do something but you can't, or whatever. I think that's a good time to do the stuff that you don't want to do, or tell yourself that you're going to do later. So, like, you're sitting there on your phone, you're scrolling, and you think to yourself, about the other night, you saw some trash bags in there, and you're like, well, I don't really want to do it now, so I'll take out the trash later. Well, it's later, and you still haven't done it, and you're sitting there on the couch, and you're on your phone, and you're just kind of bored, and you're like, you don't really want to do this, you don't really want to do that, you're just kind of, you don't want to take a nap, you don't want to play games, you just kind of sit there and you're whatever. I think that's a good time to just do that stuff, because there's really no excuse not to then, because it's not like, a lot of times we find ourselves sitting there thinking that we have something better to do, you know what I mean, that we'll sit there and we'll just, like, that's my problem when I drive a lot, is I'll feel like I have something better to do, and I kind of speed, you know what I mean, I'm kind of a little bit of a dangerous driver, just because I feel like I'm wasting time or there's something better to do, when really if I got there 5 minutes later, it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Especially with stuff like just going out to get a light bulb or going out to the store to grab something, and then I'm pissed, or like sometimes I won't even leave the crib just because I'm like, then I got to get in traffic, then I got to do the, drive this, I'll make the whole route out in my head and be like, that's so long and that's so boring. That's, when in reality I was just sitting at the crib anyways. So it doesn't really matter like that, but you make it matter in your head. And so, fuck. So back to sorry I do this so much. I promise I'll get better. So back to the procrastinating thing. I think that we just convince ourselves that there's better stuff to do. And I think instead of doing that, okay, sorry. Hold on. I just kind of had a brain fart there. I was kind of thinking about it too much. So I think with the procrastinating thing, we feel like we have something better to do a lot of the time. But an easy way to start out, like I was saying, is when those times where you don't feel like you have anything better to do, where you're truly sitting there bored, that's when you should do that stuff that you procrastinate on, or that you say you're going to do and never end up doing. Those are the times where you could do it. I don't really want to take out the trash. Well, I'm sitting here, I'm not really doing anything. I don't really have any excuse not to. And if I do it, then that'll be done, and I won't even have to worry about it anymore. That's what I've started doing a little bit, because I'm a big procrastinator. That's one of my big problems. I sit there and, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it later, or that's just what I do. That's just, and I really do, like, the fucked up part is, like, I really do have the intention of doing it later. Like, I really do have the intention of, like, yeah, I don't say it with ill intent of being like, yeah, I know I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it later. And then later comes around and then you're still feeling lazy and you're like, I'll do it later again. And then that vicious cycle continues. And, that's one little thing that I've started doing recently and that I've seen that helps is, like, when I'm bored or sitting there and I truly don't have anything to do, do that stuff, do your chores, chores of life. It doesn't necessarily have to be literal chores, but just your chores of life, things you have to do that you don't necessarily want to do. I think that's a big way to kind of help that. And, so that's kind of also what I've been having to do, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm back. That's why I'm doing the pod. It's because I was just kind of in a down rut, and through multiple things, like I was saying, friends, keeping yourself mentally strong. That was the point of that too. Is the mentally strong thing. I think it makes life a lot easier, and I think it can help you escape situations that, there's certain people that come from those situations that are one in a million. Your Mike Tysons, who grew up in poverty, your mother was a prostitute, was beat on, bullied, things like that as a young kid. Statistically, he should have grown up to be a murderer, a drug addict, or in prison or dead. That's what should have happened to Mike. But I truly believe he was mentally tough. And yeah, he had help. That's another thing about life. I don't believe anybody does it on their own. So don't let that get you fooled. This mentally tough argument that, I'm saying do it all on your own. No, not at all. I'm just saying that this is one way, at least I viewed, and something I wanted to talk about. And yeah, I think just like my Iron Mike being that mentally strong, being that like locked in and being willing to be mentally strong in an environment where he would, didn't necessarily have that, when he wasn't necessarily taught that, when he didn't really have an education or a support system or anything like that. I think the one thing that kept it together was that will, that mental toughness of being able to, and he is kind of a freak of nature. I'm not gonna lie. I've never seen anybody built like him. In my opinion, he's the greatest boxer of all time, most lethal. In his prime, he's knocking anyone out. But that's besides the point. I think that mental toughness also helped put him in the position he was in, and that's where you see him slip in his career is when he starts doing drugs. When his trainer Cass, I think his name, I can't remember his name exactly. It's something European, but essentially when he dies, which is basically his father figure. When he dies, then Mike completely goes off the rails. All he has around him is a bunch of yes men. His managers, everybody's a yes man now. Everybody's just raking in the dough, so they don't really give a fuck. They could give a fuck as long as they're making their money. And so, that's where Iron Mike kind of flies off the rails, starts doing drugs, starts all that crazy bad shit starts happening to him, and he can't really do anything. I mean, he can do stuff about it, but he's still a young kid at the time that all this is happening. I think he died in when he was 20, maybe 19, maybe younger. I really don't know quite the stats or quite the numbers, and I'll get better at that. I'm gonna do more research for the podcast and things like that. But his trainer dies and he kind of goes off the rails, and that's where you see his mental toughness slip. There is nobody supporting him. There is nobody helping him keep that mental toughness up, and he's at the top at this point. And that's a thing about the top is once you're there, like there's nothing really keeping you in check anymore. Nobody's gonna keep you in check. Nobody's gonna treat you normally anymore because of your status, because of your money, because of everything surrounding that. And so you at that point have to keep yourself mentally tough, and like that's where you see your great athletes shine through. And even when they're in the height of their success, they don't lose their mental toughness. They continue to train. They continue to be the best version of themselves because they know. I don't exactly know why, but that's they keep that mental toughness up compared to a lot of athletes and a lot of celebrities and a lot of people who get to that status who end up losing it because they don't keep that mental toughness up, and they start slipping, they lose it, they start saying things, they start doing things, and pretty soon they're out of the spotlight. They have no money, they're broke, they're back to being a normal member of society. And so that's just kind of where I was going with that. Is just I believe that keeping your mental toughness up throughout every stage of life, and especially when shit gets hard, I think that can help you a lot. And it's not easy. It's just like training any muscle. It's just like working out your body. It's hard. Like there, you know what I mean? There are times where I don't want to work out or I don't want to do this, and I have to because I know it's better for me and I know it's the good thing to do, and I know afterwards I'll feel better for it. But it's just that actual process of it. And that's what I'm talking about, is that mental toughness. Same thing is it's not easy to be that strong. It's not easy to discipline yourself. It's not easy to do it yourself, because ultimately at the end of the day, the only one who can, help your mental is you. Or like, that's a bad way to phrase it, because that's not true. But the only way that, it's just about you. You're like, when you die, it's going to be you in the end. You know what I mean? So it's really not about like, I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase it. But that it's just that mental fortitude, that mental toughness, that keeping yourself together and striving for being able to like, if you come from like extreme poverty, it seems impossible to escape. And they make it that way. It's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be almost impossible to escape. There's very few people who make it out and make actually a lot of money. And a lot of the ones who do have that mental toughness where they're not going to sit on their ass every day. They're not just cool with the 9 to 5 or you know what I mean? They have that extra drive. It's putting in that extra work that really can make or break your situation. And I know it's not an easy thing to say, because I'm guilty of it too, and I completely understand that from people. But I really believe that, that if you keep it, if you're able to put in that extra work, you will prosper. You know what I mean? if you spend that, I think about Kobe, my favorite basketball player of all time, Kobe Bryant. Grew up watching him, got his shoes when I was little, everything. And he was only that good, not because of, genetics and everything like that, but just because he put in the extra work. He'd go in 2 hours after everyone, 2 hours after everyone else has left the gym, after, they put in their mandatory practice. He's in there another 2 hours putting in work, and he goes home, he eats, he sleeps, whatever. And then he comes back to the gym and he's doing this work. He's putting in the extra work. It's not easy. It's hard. That's why not everybody can do it. That's why not everybody does it. And I'm not saying you have to have, the Mamba mentality. I'm not saying you have to get up and extra early and do this, that. But even if you could start to incorporate smaller pieces of that into your life, I think that's a huge positive. I think that if you can try to be mentally strong for just, some little things in your life, or try to put in just even a little extra work, you know what I mean? I'm working on reading right now. I've never been a big reader in my life. I watch a lot of videos, so don't get me wrong. I get my education through other ways. Watch a lot of documentaries, a lot of things like that. But I haven't been a big reader my whole life. And one thing I try to do is read 15 minutes, 15 minutes a day. Now that might sound laughable to some of you, and that might sound, what, 15? That's nothing. But me, somebody who doesn't read, who doesn't like reading, who doesn't, it's kind of that procrastinator thing again, where it's, I'll read it, I'll do it in 50, I'll do it when I'm done this, that's just that little bit of mental fortitude. Now, I could do the Mamba mentality and try to read 2 hours every day, and you know what I mean, put in the complete extra work to make myself a super reader, or educate myself, 100% on something, like law school, or, putting yourself something, invested that much into something. But even just me putting in 15 minutes a day from normally not reading 15 minutes a day, that's a little bit better. And just doing that all around in your life. You don't have to immediately change things. One thing I was thinking is like diet-wise. A lot of people want to diet or change the way they, their appearance by food. And you don't have to cold turkey. You don't have to switch to keto right away. You don't have to do anything like that. Just eat a little bit less. If you normally eat 2 cheeseburgers, try to eat 1. Or, even if that's too much, if you normally eat 2, try to eat 1.5. If you normally get a large fry, try to get the medium fry, and then work down to the small fry, and so on and so forth. And I think that helps a lot with mental. And I don't know. That was just a little bit about I because I've been I wouldn't say struggling, but I've had my I've been dealing with whatever I've been dealing with. I believe that I just wanted to kind of try and help people. I just kind of wanted to try and give you guys I kind of just wanted to tell you guys how I don't know how to explain it. Sorry, the phone was ringing. I got kind of distracted there, but I just kind of wanted to tell or not tell, like I wanted to share with people. I'll put it like that. I just wanted to share with people like what I've learned, and kind of hopefully help some people. Even if one person takes my advice or listens to this and thinks oh wow, like why could relate, or anything like that, and just feel better or entertained or anything like that, then it's worth it. And so that's kind of what I shared a little bit about today. Not a little bit, a lot about today is just trying to keep yourself mentally okay, trying to kind of, when you're down, trying to figure out ways to get yourself out of that drought. And I just kind of wanted to talk about a little bit about, like I said, I've kind of been going through my own stuff, and this is kind of what I've been learning about recently, just because, to deal with my own mental health. And I wanted to share that with other people, and I wanted to share that with, especially the podcast, is that, we're not alone, and it's like the human mind is so complex and interesting, and I think just little lessons like that can go a long way. Just, even learning about mental fortitude or mental strength. A lot of people don't even know about that. A lot of people don't even realize that's what's wrong or that's what could be helping them. Especially in low income, especially in poverty stricken areas, a lot of these lessons aren't taught about stuff that can really help you, and that's really successful and really useful, and that is taught in a lot of higher income places. People teach their kids that from a small age, that you have to be mentally strong. Things like a quote I heard from the Cheney movie Vice, and I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if Liz said it, but one thing she said to her daughters is, when you have power, people are always going to try and take it from you. And that's a deep quote, and there's a lot to that. And I don't necessarily knock it, but I don't know. That's kind of a tough one. But my point is like, even there, like, she's trying to teach her daughters that mental, like, even from a young age, she's trying to teach them, like, that mental fortitude, that mental, like, be prepared. Whereas in other places, they're not even thinking about stuff like that, or about mental health, or about just things like that in general. And so that's kind of that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit today, or that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit today is just that mental. I don't want to say necessarily mental health, because that's not exactly what I'm talking about, because it definitely has to do with it, but I think it's a more broader term than just mental health. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was that was kind of long. That was kind of a long-winded thing about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that little segment right there. That was kind of long. That was kind of drawn out, but that was something I wanted to, kind of get out there. I said at the beginning of this podcast that I was going to read something that I wrote. That was none of it, by the way. Just wanted to put that out there, that I was starting to, and then, like, how my fucking mind works usually is, like, I'll start something and then boom, like, I'll branch off. Like, that's usually how I talk or start stories. If you haven't noticed by now, like, that's kind of how I do things, is I get to talking, and once I kind of get into, like, a little side topic or a little side story or something, then it'll branch off into that, and then it'll branch off into that, and it'll, you know what I mean, branch off, so on and so forth. And so yeah, I was gonna read this, but it ended up to where, I just started talking and kind of started branching off like I do. So it worked out. But I might read this one next time, because we're almost at an hour now. And I try to keep these around an hour, because anything longer is a little long. It's a little hard to listen to anything for longer than an hour. That, and I think it's just it's hard for me to kind of talk and keep on. Though I think if I got another a guest, if I got one more person, I think it'll probably be more closer to an hour and a half. Just depends. It really just depends who it is, what we're talking about, how much they like the pod. Because I've asked people to do the pod with me, and every single one of them has said no, or they're unsure, because they're antisocial, or they're just not with that. They're not ready for an audience. They're not ready for people to hear them. So, whatever the reason may be there, they just will not. They will not, like, record. They will not do the pod with me. So, for now it's still solo, it's still dolo, but I'm just give it some time. I promise I'm gonna get my first guest on here, and that's when you're really gonna see me shine. I know I say that a lot, and I know that might sound like full of myself or something, but I really mean that. Like, when you can see me interact with or hear me interact with another person, and get like live feedback and be able to bounce off. Like that's where I'm truly get like my comedy, and I'm able to kind of make, more lighthearted, and because these are kind of long-winded, these are kind of serious, these are kind of more so about real life stuff, and that's not exactly what I wanted this to be. I want this to be more lighthearted, a little bit more funny sometimes, and the more I get into it, the more it'll kind of fit what I want it to be. And then, like I said, especially if I can get someone else, and you could just, because naturally, like I was saying earlier, I'll sit on there, not even just on Xbox, but in general, I can sit there with my friends and talk for hours about, just random stuff. Big ones like Ronald Reagan, and we'll get into that. Trust me. Like this podcast, if you're into the government, if you're into government conspiracy, if you're into conspiracies and shit in general, this podcast will be for you. I'll get to that eventually, but I'm just kind of getting into things, and I don't want to get into things too fast. I don't want to turn viewers off, and I don't want to. It's hard for me to structure it the right way. So I promise you, we're only on episode 4, I think. Yeah, 4. So once we get some couple more episodes, probably, then we'll start getting into the Bush, the Reagan. I've sat there hours, talked to my homies about Bush, Reagan, the movie Vice. I've watched it at least 20 times. We'll talk about that eventually. Talk about all that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of easing into it, just kind of getting into the pod slowly, I guess. Not even just slowly. I'm just trying to figure it out, really. And once I figure it out and what I like and how I like it, and figure out the editing, and get a friend to somebody to come on here, and not only that, but even just help producing, because I do, like I said, this is a one-man show as of now. I produce it, I edit it, I do everything for this pod. And so once I can get a little bit of help or get some feedback, stuff like that, then trust, it'll be a lot different. It'll I don't want to say improve quality, because I feel like they are pretty quality right now, especially for just starting, but I think especially in the future you'll see it shine once I get my direction a little bit more, and if I can get a little bit more help and support on it, then for sure we'll have to have things rocking. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We're just past an hour, so I don't know if I want to go on a little bit more or not. But I guess I'll go on a little bit. This is a little less serious, and we're at the end anyway, so I don't, But Travis Scott just dropped his new album, and I've listened to a few songs off it. I'll have to finish it later today, but Meltdown by Drake and Travis, song goes crazy. But if y'all are into music shit and or the music industry and the hip hop scene, he was sending shots at Pusha T again. And if y'all know the significance of that beef, that was crazy, because that's when Pusha exposed Drake for having a son, and I think that was before anybody knew, and it was a whole thing, and that beef was crazy. It was like the story of Adonis, and he had the blackface on the cover, and that was crazy. And anyway, he was sending some shots at Pusha again, talking about melting down $1 million worth of jewelry given to me by your boss, aka Pharrell. Pharrell gave him that jewelry. He melted it down for whatever reason. I just thought that was interesting. A little snippet to add here to the end is we might see some interesting, might see some hip hop beef again. And I just want to say I like Travis's album. This other artist that I listened to, RTRJ, dropped his new album. I'm not like affiliated with him or anything, but y'all should go stream his shit. Just cause he is one of my, like, I've listened to him for like a couple of months now, and like he's I don't know, he's different. He's not like the mainstream. Like he don't say nothing too different. It's still about the money, cars, bitches, whatever. But it is it's a little bit different. Like his sound is a little bit different. It's kind of different. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. But y'all should stream his new album, Remember Me Too, RTRJ. Go check that out. Just fire. I haven't been streaming. I haven't really done anything lately, and that's just because, like I said, I've been in a rut, and I wasn't even doing the pod or nothing. So, there was just a minute there where I was kind of down, kind of out. Honestly, I wasn't even gonna do it today, but like I said, I kind of had to hop up on that horse. Kind of had to, give myself that mental toughness. Just tell myself, what are you doing right now, anyways? You know what I mean? So I had to do it. I got one done today, which I'm happy. I do love the pod, and I'll have some more out, coming out. Hopefully I'll stay on that weekly schedule. It's a little bit shaky right now, but with the way it's looking right now, the way I've got it structured, the way I'm getting it planned out, I think it should be on that weekly schedule. It should be a lot better. They'll start to sound more, I don't want to say coherent, because they're definitely coherent, but they'll definitely start to sound better, like just quality wise, just what I talk about. Be a little, I don't want to say scripted, because there definitely won't be scripted, but there'll be a little bit more direction, because sometimes I get lost and I'll just go on little tangents, or you know what I mean, or like in this episode, I don't know if I'll edit it out or not, but like I had a couple moments there where I just forgot what I was talking about completely, and I want to get rid of stuff like that, especially for later episodes, especially for, I'm hoping, what I mean, this will get bigger, and so I don't want stuff like that in the later episodes. But with that said, hold up, I'm just gonna check my notes real quick, make sure I don't have nothing left to say, nothing left for the pod. I do have something interesting I want to do next episode, which I don't know how it'll go over. I don't know if you'll like that at all. I'll just keep that a surprise. It's kind of like it's something I wrote. I'll just put it like that. It's not what I was going to read today. That's something different. It's something I wrote. It's kind of long, but hopefully some people will get it. Hopefully, the message will be there. But I want to try something for the next pod. Other than that, Star Wars, I do want to talk about Star Wars in one of these pods. I was gonna in this one, but I was like, I gotta, say something about me being gone, because I don't even know if y'all noticed. You might not have even noticed, but there's just like a couple extra days in there. But I just wasn't feeling it, and I feel like I had to address that. I feel like I should talk about my mental, what's helped me, and just kind of, try to be helpful and just talk, because that's what I like to do. So, with that said, everybody, thank you for watching. I really appreciate the support. Sorry about the phone ringing, if you can hear that in the background. Don't have my own studio, don't got anything like that yet. So, I mean, there'll be some of that in these first early episodes. Sorry if the mic got a little far away there too for a second. But I appreciate y'all, and thank y'all for watching.